Americans in terms of, let's say, opportunities in the way they actually treat them once they're inside, though, from your own experience?
Well, right now, considering a new election with re-election Darlene Harris and Legislator Roger Corbin, I don't really think situation has changed, particularly in terms of any real opportunities, because an opportunity is not something that's given by somebody else to you so much
Right.
in government as you taking that where you have something available to you and using it for your benefit. I don't. What we have Nassau County right now is a power structure still dictating what it believes that the minority community should perceive as an opportunity, and that in that sense, I think the Republican Party is dominating that debate.
What about for rank and file members like yourself, like when you were inside and when you actually
Who
stuck?
said I'm not inside now?
But I'm just saying, but I know you're fighting it from a different angle at this point in time. You sense what transpired during the course of the spring.
Like I still think, in terms of what you have to do, actually, like me and everybody else, you, I still think you have an influence on government, but you have to be willing to commit yourself to doing things that would cause that.
I was wondering, what are some of the things that are making Andre's obtaining of the property next door somewhat stagnant with respect to government right now from your own experiences inside?
Well, let's see, that's what I was saying originally, with the re-election and Legislator Harris and Legislator Corbin. I don't really see things have changed in terms, we speak in terms of opportunities. Now, because here you have a political party's perception of what is valid for African Americans and Hispanics. And I think that's basically expressing some sort of a national approach on how you take care of Africans and Hispanics in Nassau County. I don't really see, although I see Legislator Corbin to be fighting it, like I don't think things gonna be able to change very much because the majority party won't allow Africans and Hispanics to develop their own perception of what their quality of life should be in their eyes, not in their eyes, but in what we see is good. Now, when you look at the thing that Andre 13 and the African American Media Network won, now that's something that the community in Roosevelt have overwhelmingly supported, and other people, even ironically them. But yet, it's their will and outward expression is not what they really mean. They prefer to blunt, make difficult any thing that the African community perceive to be something that can enhance their lives, and because they wish to control whatever that development it is. And our pray is not for evil intentions or some sort of selfish motive to keep Africans and Hispanics at some subservient role that they have designed this for us. But quite naturally, that will be fought vigorously.
And then what's happening in terms of the opportunities for African Americans both within the public sector and outside of it in the private sector, and then how come Andre's project is so important, speaking of that too?
Well, see, one thing, anybody who controls power, he wants to control information. If information is available for people to see things as they are, not as they are crafted and designed by the person who don't want you to see, then you become them immediately as a disadvantage. And the situation with why the forces to be in terms of keeping that status quo, and you're saying what are opportunities in the public sector?
Right, because
Well,
I
you
just-
can't build. You see, that's it. We are not allowed to build, right? We're not allowed. Government is not being used by us as Africans and Hispanics as an instrument to improve us. Right? It's being used as an instrument to pound upon us and to confuse what's good for us, and it's unfortunate. But unfortunately, I blame that on people of color who works with these people, and not to have the commitment to do what's necessary to improve our community. I think they are relegated to receiving financial gains personally, and because of that, they're willing to sacrifice their community's development, even though they seem to be above because of their ability to provide for themselves.
So with that said, and what the like, how can we actually start fighting the government from outside of, let's say, the political spectrum, like yourself, as well as those that are actually inside, which might be somewhat actually hampered because of the power structure? As you
Well,
told me.
at a station like this, you're doing interviews, and you're trying to find the truth and distinguish and provide that information to people as best as you can. And hopefully, as more people become aware of what's truly stifling our community, and we can identify those individuals that's really doing harm to our community, their effectiveness in trying to do things that they're doing would be weakened.
So therefore, what are the people on the outside basically have to do now, being sensed on that we would be more effective because
Well,
we don't not
we
inside?
have to see. The thing of it is, you have to develop an information system, and you're doing that.
Right.
You're trying to get information to people. As people receive more information, you'll be able to structure ways to address the information. And what it's going to demand, what's going to be demanded for understanding something,
Right.
and that's what we'll have to do.
And then, being since you had some experiences in government, I'm trying to figure out who are the key players right now in keeping Andre's project somewhat stagnant.
Stagnant.
Right.
Well, still you have the planning commissioner, that'd be Mr. Robert Francis. He has a enormous influence. Then you have the councilman Curtis Fisher. He has influence. Then you have the town board. They have influence. Now, then you have if you look at it, in terms of a scale, you also have some potential advantages. The town of Hempstead's government have been ruled unconstitutional, is in a process of appeal. If the appeal lose, now you have gained a potential voice of advocating what you want if the court rules that the court rules in favor properly, and that the town must have a new election. If that occurred, now you'll have a person superior if you win in a general election, a person who would advocate concerns like that. So now you have a person superior than Mr. Francis, been given the hope that Mr. Fisher loses and a voice that's more amenable to the issues affecting the minority community than Mr. Fisher.
So basically, right now, what we actually need to do is start having probably re-elections and trying to get somebody somewhat more amenable to
Right.
our
Well, see,
needs
no,
right
so
now, too.
I'm saying you have an advantage that you have a lawsuit that have ruled the town of Hempstead's form of government unconstitutional. it's an appeal. But if the appeal comes back also favorable, and it demands that the talent him should have an election, that would allow people in our district to have a person elected by them, by councilmatic districts, where over that or at large, where you can't know who is
Right.
your representative. Here, you know who's your representative, and this person can fight.
Right, and then that vote won't be as diluted and
That's
because
right.
it's not as
And
at
that's the
large.
advantage that you have. But like I'm saying right now, if you look at the present landscape of things and how government operates, you have it all at a large system. We have it African American with questionable commitment to our community, and a majority white board that can stifle anything that you want.
So under the present system and whatever, it just seems like it seems almost impossible because of the fact and the way the situation is set up
Well,
through the at-large system.
I don't believe in impossible. I say it's difficult. It'd be difficult to get it, but see, they also thought they would never be ruled unconstitutional, but today it is. So we don't use words that that would knock out hope. We can win. But you have to be willing to fight.
So then what would you actually state from the current system, what are the futures of minorities, both probably within going into business right now in the county in terms of them getting approved, depending on what it is, and then a major situation the way Andre has it, in which he will be able to mobilize his community by providing a lot of jobs.
Well, one thing you say the opportunity. I don't. I see we're gonna have to do an enormous amount of work to get any type of result where we're trying to express what we believe to be good. You see, versus that of someone who don't live here and they're saying from some strange position where they determine over us or what we believe is good, and that's where we're gonna have that's where the war is, and we got to find out, let people know who's really the doctor, the patient here, and I think the people who don't live here for some reason feel like they're the doctor, and they and they know more about the patient, and that's not true. And if it was true, we should be able to tell them in their community that they look sick, and tell them what do they need. And that's, they would say, we're sick. So what's good for goose is good for gander. We're saying to them, they're sick.
And basically, how would these people actually get their information from the community, though, basically right now, since they don't live in it, though? Is it statistical? Is it just on paper? Or what's happening? So,
But any information, like I'm saying, you're doing a wonderful job right now in disseminating information, impressions of how things are. Listen, there's a difficult situation now in terms of Africans and Hispanic communities to realize their potential, and the people who really care, committed to that. And I hope Legislator Corbin and Legislator Harris will do things that would make information available. I would love to see Councilman Curtis Fisher make information available so that there can be a debate in our communities about what we should do. And I would hope that the people of talent in our communities, the true African and Hispanic, though they may be tired from their work, to participate in things that would, by bringing forth their talent, to bring a better quality of life to their lives and therefore the community. Because if you don't, then you can move, but it doesn't make your life better because you're not around people that you're comfortable with, or maybe not so much comfortable with or familiar with. And I think it, you have to, as a person of talent, an African or Hispanic, you have to erase the shame. And the only way you're going to erase the shame is that you're going to have to commit some of your time to clean it up. And that's the type of things you have to do, to make things better.
And I'm just wondering right now, because being since these people like Fisher and Harris don't actually come and actually bring out these controversial situations, what do they actually have to gain once they're in office by not doing this right now, too?
Well, see, the gain is the pain to our community. Being they probably believe that they're doing right because they're a team player in the politics. But if they are wise and they feel that they're doing so good, compare what they're doing, their colleagues are doing in their communities with the tax dollars, and see how fair it is to them. I know a lot of them are probably smarting about they won by the people, and therefore the people have spoken. We'll see.
The people have maybe spoken in one way or turn, but what are they actually getting though for their vote and then their tax dollar?
Well, no, like I'm saying, they could be smarting because they, like Legacy Harris won, and she could smart. Listen, people want me to do what I'm doing. The questioning, you can't question the fact that right now she was re-elected.
Right.
So, but at the same time, we have to now look about how much, and if at all, because today we will find out.
How much but we know about how much and what, but then if at all, and
we'll see about that. Maybe we'll talk about that another day.
Thank you for your time. I know that you're busy, man.
Right.